Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. First and foremost, I've got to apologise. We've had like humongous amount of technical problems over here in the something to do with the space station just kind of gone over and like blocked out all the messages and the signals on WhatsApp, Facebook, and of course on StreamYard as well. But we're back in full effect. We've got the original Godfather. It looks like he's just had an offer that he's made to someone that they couldn't refuse. But we had Isaac as well. Isaac, we'll have to wait and see whether Isaac will come back on the link. If it doesn't, listen, we're just going to go all guns blazing. All guns blazing. See you on the other side of this music intro. God, what an evening! What an evening! Yes, just been one of those evenings, man, where I'm thinking that all my technical abilities just could not. Oops, I've just. What is going on? What's going on? I'm taking people off, people on. I tell you what, it's going to be one of those shows, isn't it? International Space Station. Oh my goodness. But anyway, guys, what you can do is just subscribe. That's all you need to do. Lend me your ears for the next 45 minutes and your little pinky, just subscribe. Oh my days. Isaac, how are you? How are you?
Fine, thank you, Alex. Glad that now we can do the show.
And actually, Isaac, you've got to sing towards the end of the show.
Okay.
That was Terry's idea. Tell Godfather, how are you, geese? He's got some problems. He's got some problems as well, hasn't he? He's got some problems as well. Terry, Isaac, it's going to be one of those shows, isn't it? It's going to be one of those shows. But anyway, let's review some news, and then I'll ask Isaac for his thoughts. And don't forget, Isaac was my wingman last year. Almost every single day, Isaac was with me. You know what I mean? All right, okay. Eltel, are you with us? No. He's got some technical problems. Anyway, let's do this. Before I start to lose my hair. Right. So there was some action. Yes, yesterday on Saturday, Brighton and Arsenal, and it ended up being 0-0. But this gentleman here, Kevin Campbell, he claims that Aaron Ramsdale, adds a new dimension to Arsenal whilst replacing Bernd Leno. And he said literally his communication skills, he's commanding the area. I was thinking, it's too soon, to be honest. It's too soon. What are your thoughts on Aaron Ramsdale, my friend?
There was a show that I was watching the other day while you were talking about Ramsdale. And I mentioned in the live chat that I like his personality. The fact that he's commanding in his box. And I said that if you make a mistake, he'll frog you off the pitch and give you one good lecture so that you do your work. You do what you paid to do. Most people were not so optimistic about his signing. But when I heard him being mentioned that he was coming to Arsenal, I went back to check his stats. Despite the two teams that he played for getting relegated in 2 consecutive seasons, he actually won Player of the Year in those 2 teams consecutively. So when I was looking at his stats, the only thing that I saw in those stats is that he was always outstanding. In most of those games, he won man of the match. I believe it is his defense that let him down. Now in Arsenal, he has a good defense. I can see we are building a good partnership. He's a good goalkeeper. The way he commands his box, he's not afraid to come up and collect the ball, which Leno used to do until his injury. And I believe nowadays I don't see Leno going up to collect the ball. I don't know if he fears going up to collect the ball, but Ramsdale, he's fearless. That is one thing that I like about him. Fearless, and he commands his box well, and he has that spirit, fighting spirit. He fights for what he believes in.
Yeah, well said actually. Eltel, your thoughts? Although I think I've got a funny feeling I know your thoughts on Aaron Ramsdale. What do you think about our new #1 goalkeeper, Eltel? He can't hear us. Tell, can you hear us, Tell? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Toddler around the back there. You haven't.
Ramsdale, what do you think about Ramsdale, Tell?
Well, I think somebody's got in on this system because I can hear a little toddler crying somewhere. It's either that or my wife has given up on me.
Not from me.
No, I think Ramsdale's a larger than life character. His stats are very good. He's second only to Emi Martinez in collecting high crosses. That sounds like the opposite of Dracula, doesn't it? But no, he's a real character. He's absolutely superb. I've got nothing but praise for him. And when you've got a team full of personality and character.
All right, we've lost the Godfather again. Tel, can you hear us, Tel? We lost you for a few moments there.
Hello.
Yeah, we lost you for a few moments.
I think the International Space Station's just gone over. Hang on, I'll try some other part of the space rocket. Hang on.
All right, okay.
Hang on. I've got.
I told you, Isaac, it's going to be one of those shows.
There's definitely a lag in his connection. Something that was happening to me last year. Most of the shows.
I didn't want to mention that. Oh dear. All right.
I'm nearly there. Okay. Hang on. I'm just going to the command module of the spacecraft. There we are. I can see the Earth below me. Absolutely beautiful. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you clearly. We can hear you clearly, Charles.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's better.
I hope you heard what I said about Ramsdale. I think he's a top guy. I don't think Leno's going to have a look in now, barring a disaster from Ramsdale, which I doubt would happen. His tail's up. The team like him. He's definitely a personality. He's young. He's good, and he's going to only get better. So we are finally organising our back four or our back five, and we've still got a long job ahead of us, as Graham Potter's team showed us. But let's keep positive.
Okay. Thanks for that, Tel. The second actually bit of information I actually wanted to talk about was in regards to our CB. Gabriel had lost 2 front teeth. 2 front teeth. I was thinking, oh my goodness. Yes, Gabriel has his 2 front teeth repaired after losing it in the draw against Brighton. after clashing with the goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez, at the Amex. I do like his physicality as well as the aggression that he brings to the defense. Now, there was a stat that I read out yesterday in regards to Tomiyasu, Isaac, and people were saying, oh, Tomiyasu, out of all the players, had the worst game ever. But I thought the defense, they were battered and bruised like Baton Rouge on Saturday, but they withheld the battering from Brighton. What's your your summation of the defense and in regards to especially Tomiyasu, Isaac?
We were poor in that game, but the defense gave us that 1 point. That
Yeah.
is for sure. The defense, if it were Rob Holding and Pablo Mali, they will have rolled us over. The game was somewhat similar to the Brentford game. We struggled because of the high press, and we didn't create so many goals. But Tomiyasu was good. He was 7. Yes, 7/10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
He's new. He's adapting. I watched him interview after the game. He said it probably was not his best game, and he did not. He's okay with that 1 point, but he's not happy with that result. So he also has that winning mentality. One thing that I'm liking about this Arsenal team now is that everybody has that winning mentality. That is what we lacked. We lack that winning mentality. We lacked that fighting spirit. We want everybody to be playing for this shirt, to feel that they belong and they want to win the game.
Before I go to Terry, Isaac, again, I know a lot of people have been criticizing the performance. I thought it's 1 point secured rather than 2 points dropped. Do you think Arteta's tactics had a lot to do with the performance against Brighton?
Not really. If we took our chances, perhaps people are going to debate about the chance Emil had, probably to square the ball through to Saka. People will be debating that. There will be two factions actually. Some will say that the angle was tight for him to square the ball. Some will say he was selfish. We'll have squared the ball. We'll have won. But before the game started, I went back and looked at how many times we've won at Brentford. Out of 9 games, we've won 1. Out of 9 games, we've won 1. So immediately I saw that stat, I knew it was going to be a difficult game for us. Yes, of course, I was confident we could secure the 3 points. But when I went back before the game started and looked at the stats, that we've only won once. Most of the times we've only had draws, and we've also lost. So I knew the game is going to be tough. And Graham Potter also said that Arsenal is an amazing team, but we are going through transition. It is not always going to be a straight road. There will be bumps, there will be ditches. So we'll have to do with that because we are in transition. And perhaps what I realized is that we enjoy playing the ball when we are not high pressed. We enjoy playing the game when the tempo is moderate. When we ourselves raise the tempo, that is the game we enjoy. But we struggle in teams with high press. And as I said earlier, that the game to Brighton was somewhat similar to the Brentford game. We struggled because of the high press.
Tell your thoughts on the game yesterday, not on Saturday. It's Brighton.
Yeah, I was thinking about 2 big cup finals where the team we played against ran themselves into the ground. And to me, that's what happened last night or the other day. The two cup finals I was thinking of was the Hull City one, where they absolutely steamrolled us for the first 20 minutes, and the one a few years before that in the League Cup against Birmingham City. And what Brentford have done and Brighton have done is they've really worked their socks off. And Graham Potter, along with the Brentford manager, these guys are rising stars. And we've known for a long while about Graham Potter. He did absolute miracles at Östersund in Sweden, and in 4 seasons they got promotion 3 times. They ended up playing against us in the Champions League. I mean, this guy is a top manager in the making, and if people care to look at his background, he's done an awful lot of study. He's studied how you motivate people. He's run all kinds of teams, Hull University, Leeds Beckett Uni. He's done whole loads of work and on how you organise teams, how you motivate teams, all the psychological aspects of play, as well as being a very good tactician. And if you bring all that plus his experience, then he will always trump a manager that hasn't got that kind of knowledge and experience. And Arteta, of course, is still learning. And despite the fact that Arteta has spent an awful lot of money, Brighton came at us, and a very interesting metric was that if you looked at the average position of most of their midfield players, they basically occupied a straight line between what you would regard as centre back and centre forward. They really bossed that midfield, and they came through us because we had a very strange. We had Partey who doesn't move around readily and easily, although he's a class player, and you had Lokonga who's still settling in, and they absolutely bossed it. And they in a lot of things in life you can get, in a good example might be teaching. You can get 2 teachers in the same year group. They'll work with the same plans and same way of delivering, but one teacher will motivate the pupils, and the other one lacks that high level of motivational skills. And it felt to me as if Brighton and Brentford were both immensely energetic, motivated. They ran their socks off, and Arsenal were trying to play this touch football, this lovely movement into space. But when you've got a team, this actually is what makes football a magical game, because you can have a high quality team up against a team that refuses to sort of lie down and die, and it creates a spectacle, and it creates what we saw, which is a team. They never stopped pressing. Now, the only way to press the way they pressed is to go for it and to run yourself into the ground. And they did, along with the fact that they seemed to, Graham Potter, I think, outthought Arteta tactically and just swamped that central midfield. We don't like playing the ball through central midfield. We tend to prefer the wings. And he pinned our wing backs back by attacking them, so they couldn't get forward. And as our goalkeeper said, and he gave the game away a little bit at his end of the match interview, he sort of said we were having enormous difficulty playing the ball out from the back, and their centre backs, even if you played it long, were gobbling the ball up. And of course they had the conditions, but both teams were playing in a swirling wind and lashing rain. But well done to Brighton. Well done to Graham Potter and his team. And as an Arsenal fan, well done for that defence. As Isaac was saying, and Arteta said as well, in the last 25 yards that we played brilliantly. Our goalkeeper, all of our defence played really well and managed to somehow to keep them out. So it's a point gained. What I would do if I was the Arsenal board, I will be keeping an eye on the Brentford manager and how he's doing, and keep an eye on Graham Potter, because these guys are not playing with any kind of a budget that like Arteta's. Can you imagine if they had some real top quality players? And to quote Pep Guardiola, he says that unless your players are the equivalent in skill of the other team, tactics don't come into it. So in other words, if you put a team out there that are better, then they normally outplay another team. But you can make 20% more by motivating them. And that's what Graham Potter did. So well done to Brighton. They made a fantastic match of it. But as Isaac was saying, if Emile Smith Rowe had squared that ball, we could have snatched an unlikely 1-0 win. So we've got a long season to go. There's still a lot to do. I'm very disappointed in our forwards. There's something wrong with Aubameyang. I just don't think he fits our system. I think he's trying, but you almost need a composite of his pace with Lacazette's ability to shrug people off and hold the ball up. And we've got two players that if you could roll them into one, and it just doesn't fit what Arteta's trying to do. So I think for the Arsenal fans, we're going to have to hold on until next season, when I would suspect both players will move on, and it will be interesting to see who Arteta buys.
Tell, maybe it could be an unfair question, but knowing that Arsenal don't or cannot play when there's a high press, are we not missing a midfielder like Santi Cazorla, who can hold the ball up, pass the ball in transition in tight spots? Aren't we not missing a player like Santi Cazorla? Because all I saw was the midfielders panicking once the high press came, and then what would they do? They would keep the ball long, and then giving the possession back to the Brighton players, and they were just recycling the ball back in. So, are we not missing a player like Santi Cazorla? Tell.
We are. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. We don't hold the ball. We don't progress the ball through midfield. We seem to be panicky that we can't hold it and play through another team's midfield. And it's very interesting over the years with the different managers Arsenal have had. Like if you take Arteta, for instance, I think his big weakness, despite him being when he was playing a midfield player, his big weakness seems to be in creating a midfield that is cohesive. When we had Wenger, who used to be a centre back, his great strength was creating a forward line that was and midfield that were absolutely wonderful. And he was lucky to inherit George Graham's defence and then be able to buy Sol Campbell. So, and George Graham, if you go back that far, George Graham was a centre forward originally, dropped back into midfield in his later years, but he was the guy that created a wonderful defence. So it's almost with those three managers that we've had, they're not very good at creating a good team in the position in which they used to be a player. It's almost as if they know too much about it, and their sort of brain is fogged with it. But and then we get back to what I always say, which is you need a good deputy alongside you who's different from you, who sees the game differently, who's got different strengths and different skills. And I wish Arteta, I think that would be the crowning glory if we could find somebody as an assistant manager that would fill in all the gaps, because no manager's got every answer. But if we had another guy alongside him that was different and could solve some of the problems he's struggling to sign, but that's not going to happen this season. So it's going to be a bit of an up and down season. But that's the joy of watching football.
Isaac, we put out a poll on the channel leading up to the Brighton game, and the poll was in regards to this gentleman here. You can see him, he's laughing here. And the poll we put was, will Arsenal miss Granit Xhaka for a Brighton and Hove Albion game? And this has been one of the closest polls that we've put on the channel. So the no said, no, Arsenal will not miss Granit Xhaka. 46%. So do the maths. The yes says 54%. Did we miss Granit Xhaka on Saturday, Isaac?
Partly yes, partly no.
Why?
I'll start with the yes part. We missed his leadership in the midfield. That is what we missed, because he's experienced with his leadership. He's been a captain, so that is what we missed. The no part is that Granit also struggles in the high press game. Last season, the high press from Burnley, Xhaka cost us 3 points. Because of the high press, he actually fed the Burnley striker the ball to square into the net. So partly yes, partly no. In some aspect, we missed him because of his leadership and all that, because he can calm the game down and uh, just act as an experienced player. We missed experience, but he also struggles in the high press game. So with or without Xhaka, we still will have struggled in the high press game.
Okay. I think I know what you think, Tel.
No, I'll say what's really interesting is that Isaac sees it the way I see it, and so many other people see it. Listen, in the international arena, when he's playing international matches for Switzerland, and international football is nothing like the EPL. It tends to be slow, quick, slow. In a situation where he's got time in midfield, he looks a wonderful player. But if you press him, his only answer is to engineer a foul. So he pretends he's been fouled and falls over. But he does have poise on the ball until people press him. And he does have an eye and the ability to play a 20, a 30 and a 40-yard pass. Of course, he has all those skills. But when we first signed him, I remember thinking, Granit, that sounds good. This guy's going to be a defensive midfield, top player. But he can't tackle. We've seen him tackle recently and got sent off. So we certainly missed his poise. He can shield the ball well and he can play the ball through, but we didn't miss all the other aspects of the game. And that's where we currently lack, as you said, we currently lack a Santi who loves the ball sticks to him, he can move, he can dribble past people, he can make things happen in that middle of the park. We haven't got it because Xhaka doesn't dribble past people, and really, Partey doesn't really. So we do lack a ball-playing midfield player to hold the ball, progress the ball, and pick out passes. And it's very obvious. But in the meantime, what I would be saying to the Arsenal players is we've got to press people with the determination and the drive that we saw from both Brentford and Brighton. There's no excuse. What's the famous adage? I think Brian Clough sort of said, if you don't compete physically at the same level as the team you're playing against, they will run you ragged. So it's only when you're competing at the same level physically that your superior skills come through. But if you're not going to push hard and match, I was listening to Tim Hogan doing a team talk there a few weeks ago, and he said to his lads, the under-13 team over here in Scariff in Hurling, and he said to them, lads, if you don't match this team physically, it's not going to happen. You've got to get out there. They're big guys. They're going to push you hard. Match them physically, and then with all the work we've done on the skills and so on, you should come through. And just hats off to Tim, and if Tim's friends, and Alan Maher, who works with Tim, and there's a couple of other coaches there, and their team did win. They won a fantastic game, and they're in the final. And it's fascinating watching other people give team talks. And really, as I said, it's no good having all the skill in the world in a physical game if you don't match the other team physically. So well done to Tim, and well done to all those lads.
Well done, Tim. Well done, Tim. Isaac, one player that made me frustrated was Thomas Partey. Even his shooting. Where's his shooting boots? What's going on, Thomas Partey? All this talk about, he's scoring goals in training, top bins, top left, right bins, top bins, but the real action's on the pitch. Game time. What's going on with Thomas Partey, Isaac? Help me out, please.
I don't know what has happened to him, but it's like he's struggling in the Premier League. He was shining in Italy, in Serie A, and he could score long-range goals from the distance he was trying to shoot from. I've been watching his clips. He's been scoring those long-range goals. I don't know why he's struggling with injuries and why he's struggling with the way he's playing. Sometimes he's top class, his shoulders high above every player when he plays in big games, but he tends to go down and just become average in some small games. So that is one thing I'm trying to figure out, why he's struggling with his fitness and the way he plays.
God, dearie me. I don't know. Frustrating. And I think, Terrell said as well, he's possibly too slow. He's too slow for the Premier League. Is that right, Terrell? And he can't shoot.
I think so. I was watching him. I know they do these things. I mean, obviously, sports science has come on apace, and they talk about twitch muscles and so on. He doesn't seem to have that rapid speed of movement that you need to bring the ball down and twist away. He needs too much time. And of course, if you play in a lot of these European leagues, you do have time. But the EPL is 120 miles an hour, and people are flying at you all the time. I hope I'm wrong, but it does. If I had bought him, I would be very concerned now. He doesn't stay fit, which means he's trying to do things his body doesn't want to do. Can I just say, out of interest as well, one of the players that I know he's a wonderful skill player, but he doesn't seem to be a fit either, is Pepe. And as soon as they've played Saka, who's a little bit under par, I mean, he hasn't had a summer's break at all, really. But when you see Saka in that position as a left-footed player wide on the right, he's so much better. And I do worry that if I was Edu now, I'd start to think I've got to look very carefully at buying players, because if they're good in Europe, it doesn't necessarily mean they can cope with the hell for leather EPL pace. And for those two players, who both Thomas and Pepe, you look at footage. I know YouTube can make my granny look at a good player, but but they, when they put on an Arsenal shirt and they play in the EPL, they both don't look as though they're quite ready for it, quite made for it. So Arteta's got no choice. He's got to push through now with both players, but they must be doing the sort of metrics on his speed, his ability over 10 yards and 20 yards and 30 yards, and of course his shooting may be happening because he's trying too hard. That's the other problem. You sort of join a new club and you snatch at shots that you would normally take your time with, but it is worrying, and it will be interesting if Graham Potter, and it's quite possible he could be Arsenal manager this time next year. I'd be fascinated to see, with his motivational skills and tactical skills, if he could turn Pepe round, and if he could turn Thomas into the player that we know both players could be.
I don't know. I mean, this might be a simplistic way of looking at the problem and the solution. If I was the manager or the coach, I would sit Pepe down and just show him videos of Arjen Robben and Mo Salah and say, this is what I want you to do. Keep it nice and simple. Just be direct. But he's overplaying it, cutting in. When he plays on the right-hand side, he's so predictable, Isaac. So predictable that even I could play against him. And I'm in my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable. He's so predictable that even I could play against him. And I'm in my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, my mid-50s. He's so predictable, Isaac. And I mean, I just
I
thinking.
always tell my defenders, players like Pepe, who are one-footed, they do not use both feet. If you want to defend well against them, just press them to the left. They will not turn to the right. That is what I always tell my defenders. And that is what Pepe does. He complicates his ball. He wants to cut in. He doesn't keep it nice and simple, as you just said. If he wants to be a star, keep it nice and simple. One or at most two touches. And then you pass to your teammate and make a run. So another player I like to add to Eltel's list is Sambi. Sambi is also too slow. Yes, he's
Yeah,
a good bowler, but he's slow. Partey and Sambi play like Pogba. They are too slow. They want time on the ball. So if you give them time, what made Partey shine in the Tottenham game is because they were given time on the ball. Tottenham were not
yeah,
pressing.
yeah,
So that is why we batter them. So you see, Odegaard, the likes of Odegaard, Smith Rowe, and Saka, we bully them because of speed. If we want to outdo other teams, we must have a midfield, even if it is a holding midfielder, but someone with speed. That is what if we want to turn things around. If you have someone with speed, lots of speed and quick feet, someone
yeah,
who can
yeah.
turn the ball around, and with those the Santi Cazorla type, then we can really give other teams something to think about.
But Isaac, what is Mikel Arteta trying to do with Nicolas Pepe? Because he's 2 seasons with Arsenal. I don't see him. He hasn't progressed. I know towards the end of last season he scored, I think, 4 goals when the pressure was off, and I was thinking, right, I'm expecting good things from Nicolas Pepe, but it just hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out. And I'm thinking, Mikel Arteta, what are you showing Pepe? What are you trying to tell him to do? Just sit him down, show him videos of Mo Salah and Ian Robin. They were so one-footed, but they kept it simple. What is Mikel Arteta trying to do with Pepe? What is he trying to do?
Let Arteta tell Nicolas Pepe to perform the way he performs in irrelevant games.
I don't think Pepe's got a high level football brain. I think that's the problem. He just he's like a one trick pony. He's got 3 or 4 things he can do, and he's a good example would be Saka again. Saka's aware of where everybody is around him. He's aware that as he moves forward and everybody else is moving around, he can read the game at speed in real time. I don't think Pepe can. He doesn't. He always looks a bit sort of. He's got that wide open-eyed look on his face with his jaw dropping, as if to say, "I've no idea what's going on here." And it just, you have to have all the top players have football intelligence, along with all the other attributes you need. And I think the experiment has actually gone on long enough. But of course, having paid 72 million, they're going to have to try and push it through. But I think there definitely is. We're kind of we're edging round the elephant in the room, which is that there's something wrong with the way Arsenal are training, and we aren't training them to cope with the hard press and a team that comes at you 100 miles an hour. And what's the name of the guy we just sent out to Feyenoord? The winger, Reece Nelson. And he broke down in his first training session. What? Yeah. He broke down. Oh, he's gone. He broke down in his first training session. So, and Arteta's answer was, "Oh, we've got a company that checks all the metrics." Well, Arteta, I would be checking that company because they're probably pulling a fast one. Because if do you know, just another thing, I'm sure Arteta did this, but I would have done it because Ben White has only just left Brighton. I would have been talking to Ben White all week leading up to the game and say, how do Brighton play? How do they try and press? What are you told? And also, if you're worried about players not being fast enough, and we could see that Brighton lads were, what training drills do they do to create this instant speed over 5 and 10 yards? And pick his brains and find out what's going on at these clubs, because we aren't doing it. And as Isaac was saying, you know, I was thinking back to the players that we had as wingers. Robert Pires, right-footed, but he could always play the ball on his left foot. Mark Overmars, right-footed, he could always cross the ball. You know, and you go back through all our top wingers, and they've all had the ability to go either side of a defender. If you can only go one side, the game's up at the elite level. You've got to develop that. Now, if they are developing it, and in the hurly-burly of battle, he still loses the confidence to sort of do it, then I'm afraid it's a lost cause. And I don't know. I am worried that when Pepe plays, I think, well, that's like having a passenger there. And when Saka's on wide right, even though he's a little bit tired this season, he looks so much more effective as a player. So it's a bit up and down, and I think that's what the season's going to be like. It's going to be up and it's going to be down. But let's see what evolves.
Yeah, and actually talking about midfielders, it's little Mozart's birthday today. Thomas Rosicky, yes, turns 41 today, and I feel so old. I was just thinking, did injuries deny Thomas Rosicky of fulfilling what we expected from him? But I think when I look at some videos of him with his career at Arsenal, I thought he was a player that we could probably do with now. You know, quite tricky midfielder. But yeah, 41 today, the little Mozart. Can he come out of a retirement? No, probably not. Probably not. All right, let's go into the live chat before we wrap up this one. We've got Ashley D from the beginning. Says, we at Canon 40 TV would like to apologise for the delay. We are having technical difficulties as staff prepare makeup, cups of tea and biscuits. Thank you for that, Ashley. It was more technical minded than that. We've got one here from Kamara. Says, good evening to you. And the assemble says, greetings, gentlemen, gentle folk. Kamara says that Arsenal defense is definitely transforming. I thought they played really, really good. They played out of their socks on Saturday. You know, the battering they received there. But yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. I'm thinking, even Tommy Ashu, the stats, I've read the stats there. No, they all played wonderful. They all played wonderful. Ibrahim says, good evening all. Good evening to you. Here's a question. Do you think the Brighton loss was a simple case of bad tactics and team selection, i.e. arrogance? Isaac?
Definitely no. The back line, starting from the goalkeeper, the back five actually, have only conceded one goal when playing together. That is the Tottenham goal. That's the only goal they have conceded. The five of them playing together. So that back line is so strong. I like to differ with my friend there, because I believe that we did not lose. As Eltel was saying, that was a 1-point game.
Yeah. Tell your thoughts very quickly. Was it bad tactics? No.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got out thought. I mean, this business of they played through the middle, they pinned our fullbacks, they worked their socks off, and we just couldn't get out of the press. And as our goalkeeper said, you know, we're going to go back to the drawing board, as George Graham often used to say, go back onto the training field and figure a way out of this high press, because other teams are going to watch that game. and say, "Oh my goodness, look! If you press Arsenal hard, you can have some success." So
Yeah.
there is no option if you've been shown to be weak at any part of your game in elite sport of any kind. You have to get out on the training pitch and sort it out.
Yeah. Ibrahim says Arteta should have substituted Auba for Laka at half time, Isaac.
I'll agree. Probably, if not half time, the
Yeah.
60th minute, because Auba struggles physically. When we playing a team that is playing physical, Auba struggles. Auba also enjoys playing behind space. He
Yeah.
also enjoys when there's lots of space. But Laka enjoys shoving other players. He enjoys that. He's the Lukaku type. He enjoys when you press him. That is when he delivers best.
So, do you agree? Should have been substituted.
Yeah, I don't know why he. Yeah, I don't know why he left it so long to bring on Laka. Probably, I mean, I would have brought him on at half time, but I think Arteta certainly delayed it too long, and Oba was doing absolutely nothing. And you know, when the pitches get heavy and the rain is lashing and you've got big defenders, you need a powerhouse up there to make them think twice. And Laka would have been the obvious answer. So yeah, we've it's lots of tactical problems, but I would have brought Laka on earlier. So.
Okay. Here's one here for you, Isaac. Isaac, even though hindsight is 2020 vision, in my opinion, our team options are better, but we seem to be using the same players and not developing the lesser members of the squad. Our game is limited, Isaac.
There are instances where you will question the coach's decision, even his subs. We need, for instance, a bench that can change that game. When you make subs, the game changes immediately. There were aspects in last season where he made changes or where he made subs, and there were differences. For instance, there's a game I remember. Laka was brought on at the 66th minute, and his first touch was a goal, and we won 1-0. For this case, I'll ask myself: we have a star who's all the time sitting on the bench, the like of Gabriel Martinelli. I like the way he plays and the way he fights. He's rushed to every ball. Even in training, he gets injured in training because of the way he fights or the way he commits himself to winning that ball. So when he brought on, for example, Maitland Niles, that is, I believe he was a time waster sub. So I will ask myself, why did he not bring on Martinelli? Because he was on the bench, and it can change some aspects of the game. So if we really want to develop these players, we signed Florian Bolagun and sent him to be playing the under 21s. He's always playing in the under 23s. That is where I see him playing and scoring goals. Martinelli is sitting on the bench for the better part of his career at Arsenal. So I don't know what is happening. He's the coach at Arsenal. So I don't think he'll even take my opinion. So he's he's coaching.
You never know.
Let him take his time. But I know what the fan base will really be happy with is winning. The fan base will be happy. It will not matter which team he puts out. If we win, the fan base will always be happy.
Yeah, you're right. So here's one here for you. LTEL, after hearing about the Reece Nelson debacle, if a boxer leaves his best work in training, he rarely wins his fights. With this in mind, could this be a chink in Arsenal's armory? Thoughts, if any, LTEL?
That's very interesting, actually. What that means is we're actually overtraining them. Now, there's an interesting point that by the time the players get on the pitch, they've left their zip and their snap and their power behind. It's possible. I mean, you should be able, if they all carry this thing on their jerseys that like that measures their pace and their speed and their all the different metrics. It would be interesting if that comes up, and it is possible. It is possible that we're overtraining them now. There's a question that I would be asking Ben White. I would say, have you noticed a difference in our training? And how do you do it? I mean, one of the things I was reading about Graham Potter, which might explain what this guy's saying, is Graham Potter believes in this thing called periodization. Now, there's two different strands of periodization, and the one I'm talking about is not the periodization inside the time of a football match, but it's how you train players at different points in the season. So we're all very used to players being trained pre-season in a certain way, and then, but periodization means that in the first month or two of a season, you would train them quite differently from the way you'd train them in the middle of the season and towards the end of the season. And maybe, excuse me, maybe Graham Potter and the Brentford manager have mastered that better. And maybe we are possibly getting them training them too hard, and they haven't got enough when it comes to the actual game. So that's a very, very good point, and it's one that they should be looking at with some seriousness, because we're certainly looking a yard or two slow in that midfield department, especially. Saka, I've mentioned him before, looks a bit shattered this term, but again, he's had almost no break during the summer, so it's quite possible that we are overtraining them, and that surely must be a metric that Arsenal would be looking at. But that's a very very good point. Quite possible.
Scholastica says Arsenal players still have a lot to learn, like heading, marking, tackling, dribbling, and so on and so on. We haven't got time.
Simply tell the Arsenal players to play like they played during the Tottenham game. That is the best we've done this season, playing like we played Tottenham. Although others will say, "Oh, it is just Tottenham." We used to beating them at our turf, and I understand it was a derby. In a derby, form goes out the window. So in a derby, even a team that is out of form can win. And if we could play all games like it were derbies, then we'll be winning.
Carlton Palmer better than Thomas Partey. So Carlton Palmer.
Hey, well, I've never thought of the two in the same sentence, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sort of stride. But Carlton Palmer, well,
Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it?
Carlton Palmer. Oh my goodness.
Partey is okay. He will score soon, and Pepe needs a mentor to get him to the next level. I don't know. Project Pepe for me just hasn't worked. Partey has some exceptional passes in him, but then he should forget about shooting. Don't shoot. Lokonga could turn into a monster player. Skill and knowledge of a mature player are in him, Isaac.
Yes, he could be a monster player, but he wants time on the ball. That is one thing we will have to agree on. He needs time to build on his pass. So if you don't give him that time, if you press him high, he'll not have that time to think or to build on the pass that he wants to do. So yes, we have good players, but we'll see them shining when they are given time on the ball.
Dear. Alex, Pepe's problem is the tactics are rigid for a technical player who relies on instincts in real time. He isn't a disciplined player who holds a position. Saka is more disciplined. So, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely perfect because, as I said earlier, I don't think he's really got that kind of football brain that Saka has. So you've got to let him off the leash, get him to receive. The key thing with him is when you watch all the footage when he played for was it Lille, he got the ball just on the edge of the area on the right hand side, so he can kind of go in on his left foot. And then he can dribble really quickly because nobody can touch him in the area or they'll give away a penalty. So it's, to me, you're absolutely right. Get him to get the ball where he's incredibly dangerous. And one of Pep Guardiola's mantras is once they're in the area, once they're attacking, leave them to their instincts. And I don't think, as we all know now, Arteta is not that kind of manager. He wants us attacking in these 5 places quite often in matches now. If you hold the sort of video, you can see five of our players all in a line, all attacking at the same time. But absolutely, if Pepe's gonna do well, we've got to just make sure he doesn't go looking for the ball, because that doesn't work and he just plays it back. But Worker's system, whether it's Partey that gets to him or the fullback that goes wide, but find a way of giving him a yard of space where he can get the ball and turn and run at defenders. But at the moment, he's running. If he ever does run at them, they can just block him off. They know he's only going to go one way. But in the penalty area, he's got time to chilly and do all kinds of stuff. So if I'm honest with you, I don't think he suits Arteta's way of organising teams. And if you look at Arteta in the past at Man City, he's had, just trying to think of the name of the player, Sterling. He's had Sterling, and he's credited with turning Sterling round really into an England class player. Working with him, working with his left foot, working how left-footed players approach the penalty area and so on. And I'm sure he's working ever so hard with Pepe, but I don't think it's worked. In my opinion, it hasn't worked, and it's unlikely to work because he's absolutely right, he's one of these instinctive players. Get him in the box and let him go. Unleash him. And don't fill his head with, I want you to do this, this, and this. Because it's not going to happen. He's not that kind of player.
Okay. Anthony says, Brighton intensity was very high pressing against Arsenal, but we got away with a point. Got a reminder from Ashley. This is to everyone's watching now. Make sure you subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Dull Square 1971. Welcome on the live chat. It says Arteta is overcoaching his players so that they have no way to express themselves. Isaac, overcoaching.
I read an article early in the season that someone was saying the same thing that Dale is saying, that in some way Arteta is trying to overcoach them and they are struggling because they want to implement everything that he's telling them. If I'll still go back to the Tottenham game, I don't know if it is only me who saw what was happening on the bench. Arteta was listening to his bench. I don't know if it is only me who saw that. He was listening. He could listen and make changes where he's told to make changes. That has never happened in any game. That is the only time I saw him listening to his bench.
Oh wow.
So I'd rather he listens to his bench more. If he does that, he'll be able to make subs and make changes where necessary. Because personally, I've been on the touchline. Sometimes you get it wrong. But if
Mm.
you have a bench who tells you, coach, here you've got it wrong, we've got to switch this with this and get the results, we can sub him off and bring someone who's will not struggle in that position. That will be best.
Wow. Okay. Oops. Dial Square says. Oh, sorry, not Dial Square. Sorry about that. Yeah, Dial Square says the facts are we played so well because Spurs had such a bad team. Tell.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, Arsenal played this beautiful one-touch football, and it worked. My God, the ball zipped around. They took chances on playing the ball into space, hoping that the Arsenal guy would be there, and they were. It was a delight to see, and they were obviously up for the game. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, were Tottenham just very average, or were Arsenal fantastic? I will say that Tottenham's goal only happened because Xhaka went down with what we now realise was a very bad injury, and they played on. So I suspect it would have been a 2-0 win. But Tottenham worked great, so hey, that's what we want to hear. But Arsenal were made to look good by a very average Tottenham.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last one. Last word says people keep calling Arteta a coach, but the problem is that he's now a manager, and that is the problem, Isaac. That he's actually the manager, not the coach.
He's okay. He's the manager, and actually, he's had a lot of say in the signings that he has made. I was reading earlier that he's the one who called for Tomiyasu to be signed. He's the one who called for Ramsdale. Actually, it's only two signings that were made this season that were out of scouting, but the rest were his signings. He had a lot of say in those signings. So I hope it turns everything around, but to put the picture clear, we've had 10 points from possible 12. 10 points from possible 12. We are not so bad. And I'll say Brighton have had a great start, just like last season. A great start to the season, just like last season. Last season there was Brighton and West Ham. They had great starts. This season it is only Brighton who've had that great start to the season. But towards the mid of the season, they tend to drop points a lot. Like last season, I don't. I think we had a draw at their turf, and we won 2-0 at Arsenal, if I'm not wrong. This season, if we did not draw at their turf, we lost 1-0. So
Yeah.
this season, we lost 1-0. We remember Leno getting
Yeah.
1-0 to them, and we won at our turf 2-0. So at least we've had a draw. So we've gained 1 point. We are getting somewhere. So I always want to be optimistic in everything. I do not want to be pessimistic in anything that I do. I always want to be optimistic and encourage the players and also encourage the fan base that we've had. Let's see the best and not the bad side. We've had possible 12 points, we've had 10.
Yeah.
That is something that we have to be proud of. The first 3 games of the season, some nicknamed as relegation FC. We were battling out of relegation. We were number 20. And then we played the next 3 games, and we are top 10. We are in the top half of the table. So I'm hoping Arteta will progress forward. I don't think he'll struggle in the Crystal Palace game, which we'll have immediately after this international break, because Crystal Palace did not have that high press like the Brighton and the Brentford, so they'll have time on the ball, and after that we'll be having Leicester or Aston Villa, one of them. Last season we struggled home and away to Aston Villa. We lost home and away. We lost 3-0 in their turf and 1-0 at Emirates. We did not score. So I'm waiting this season if we are going to score. We gave them a world-class goalkeeper. But I hope Arteta realized he sold the best goalkeeper, so he went for Ramsdale, who only ranks second to Martinez. So I believe he corrected his own mistake.
A big mistake.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up the show, Tel?
I was just going to say the one thing that stands out in Arsenal at the moment is we haven't got a captain. We just haven't got a captain. And we need, ideally, I like captains either to be centre-backs or central midfielders. And can you imagine if we had a great captain in central midfield that refused to be beaten and drove people forward and pounded their fists and shouted and got the team moving and motivated verbally, gestured, all those things we lack. And you'd see different set of results if we had that. Now, possibly Tierney, Gabriel. I know he's still learning English, but he's been fantastic this season. Maybe Ben White. You've got some players there that could be captain, but nobody screams out to me as being, apart from perhaps Tierney, as being captain material. And ideally, I'd like to see somebody in that central midfield who's so good, so demonstrative, and pushes the team forward when things are going wrong. If we had that in central midfield, we would be a different team.
Okay, well said. Well, so we've come to an end on this second segment of the Canon project. Eventually, we got it done after all those technical difficulties, not only for Canon 42, but as I understand it, WhatsApp is still down. StreamYard has just come back on, and Facebook is also having some difficulties. So, yeah, the International Space Station is a hit all of us. Armageddon! Run for the hills! Run for the hills! Run for the hills! Also, a big thank you to all the moderators as well as all the viewers who eventually came and saw this segment, just over an hour and just short of 10 minutes. I also want to thank Isaac. Isaac, it's always a pleasure to have you back on Canon 42, brother. Really, really good to have you. Yeah?
I'm humbled to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, the original Godfather himself, El. Good to see you back, even though your throat was out.
Well, do you know what? The interesting thing was that we discovered that Isaac runs choirs, and of course I've run many choirs in my life. So we've got a good chance of having a Canon Fodder choir here. We just need a few more people on board, and I could see things happening for us.
Yeah. Well, we were going to
probably get arrested. Stop those guys, whatever you do.
Oh dear. We were going to sing, but I think no. I think you guys have suffered enough on a Cannon Fodder team. But guys, listen, thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. Eventually, we'll have so many technical problems, but we got the job done in the end. So yeah, we have an international break and a break from Arsenal. A break from Arsenal indeed. So for my panel, the moderators and everyone watching this second segment of the Cannon Project, have a good evening. And you have been watching Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world.